All right, ladies and gentlemen. I am making this quick video because I got myself a new little side gig. You know, we'll talk more about my process with work and side gigs and things again here later on, but I wanted to make this quick little vid because I am out on my first little Instacart order. So let's go ahead and do it together, and then we'll talk more about it later on. All right, bye. Okay, listen. I got a little bit overwhelmed by the shop because I wanted to make sure that I was doing things correctly and what have you. So just a quick little summary of the first shop, and then what I'd like to do is take you along on a second shop to show you what went on. So I kind of went in, I didn't know this store, so I asked a worker how to get to the departments. There was 2 departments that this customer was shopping from, so I wanted to make sure the shop was quick. I went and asked the worker where I could find these things, just the 2 different departments, and made my way to those 2 different departments. I got the things I needed very quickly. There was one item that was not available to the customer. It was like a produce item, and in that I asked if they wanted the replacement that was available, and I did wait a couple extra minutes than maybe I needed to try to get a response. And I also sent a message, so I did send a replacement request or option, and then I also sent a message just to, you know, because sometimes you need to have a second alert show up on your phone because you're out of the room or whatever. So with all that said, I have gotten through my first shop very quickly, very successfully, and I am going to head out from the store to drop off, and I will touch base with you after drop off is made. See you later, guys. All right, y'all, I'm driving real quick. I'm gonna find us a place to park so we can touch base real quick. Actually, there's this cute little gazebo over here. Let's stop and touch base at the gazebo really quickly because I think it would be fun. So let's do it. Let's go over and talk. All right, I hope you can hear me. So really quickly, I just finished my first order. It was so much fun because I really like to shop, but not for myself because it stresses me out. I don't have the funds. And what's nice is like, it's 90 degrees outside. It's hot, but not in the grocery store, honey. So, you know, I haven't been feeling well. I don't have anything that's going to be passed off to anybody, and I'm coming over it, you know. So I've been taking the precautions when I'm in the store and things like that. But all that to be said, you know, I just delivered my first little batch, and I'm really happy about it. It was a nice time. Huge weight off my shoulders about some of the financial stressors that I've been feeling and dealing with. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm gonna do one more today, and like I said, I plan to take you along with me a little bit further, like in the store, and kind of like talk you through it and go a little bit slower, because that was my first one. I kind of raced through it, had a little bit of anxiety about doing a good job, and so this time, you know I can do a good job. I've seen myself do it just now, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So let's head to Target and get our second Instacart order. Let's go! All right, y'all, look at this. They even got a little counter for me to put my phone so y'all can see me. Yeah, this isn't gonna work. All right, we at Target, y'all. We at Target. All right, so like I said, we're at Target. We're gonna do our first Instacart at Target. So, yeah, I'm gonna pull up the Instacart order and then I let them know that I'm here, and then what happens next is it shows me the list of things they want. And what's cool is then when you get to the item, it shows you a barcode that you scan to confirm that it's the item, which is really nice, just to make sure everything's correct. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through the store, do the shopping. Maybe I'll show you a few things I see along the way, and then we'll catch up outside. One thing I noticed already is that they give you the aisle numbers, which is kind of nice. I didn't see that in the last store because they were like produce and meats. So, just a quick note. Okay, so shopping for somebody else is not easy, I'll tell you that, because some of these sections of a Target, let's say, you've never visited before, not actually looking, you know, like for other people's skincare items and things like that. And in this Target, you know, I'm not super familiar with how things are set up, so I was looking in the regular, you know, I'm looking for Q-tips in a space in another Target where I would have found them, you know, by, you know, maybe eardrops and contact stuff, things like that, in more of the pharmacy section. But these Q-tips were over by the nail stuff. So all that to be said, it takes me a whole lot longer to shop for 500 other items for somebody else than it takes me to shop for my whole grocery list for a week, just because I already know where my items sit in a store because I'm so used to grabbing them. So I have noticed that that is why the shopping takes so long for Instacart shoppers. They're not shopping these items on a regular basis. Excuse me, I'm hot. Another thing that I noticed is I really like that it's hot as heck outside. I get to experience the summertime. I love the summertime. I love the sunshine. I love hotness. Love it all. And then at the same time, I get to pop into a store, put on a little cardigan or whatever, and get cooled off. And now I'm back out here in the hot, warm sun, getting ready to deliver my second order. And I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself, y'all. And like, you know, just with some of the things that I've done in the past that I'll talk more about, you know, like for example, working at the mall after brain surgery, that was not fun at all. I didn't enjoy that at all. It felt bad. It felt bad in so many different ways. And, you know, I'll talk more about that kind of stuff if I haven't already. But I'm happy to have found this little gig because it's not something that I have to do regularly or at all if I don't want to. I don't have to work part-time hours, because that's the other thing. I had brain surgery and I went back to part-time work thinking, oh, it's part-time, I'll be fine. And it was really hard. I was not prepared to stand for 8 hours. I was not prepared to stand for 4 hours on my feet, moving around constantly, having a task to be doing. So with all that said, it's really nice to have these moments of reprieve. I can sing in my car on the way to drop off. This has been a really nice little option for a couple dollars that I really need right now. So yeah, we're gonna go drop off our second order and we will talk more. So I'm gonna go on a little third run, and then I'm gonna go ahead and maybe call it quits for the night and kind of try to recap it, and so that we can touch base and kind of like my final thoughts either later tonight or tomorrow. So I will see you. Okay. It is the next day, and I am back at it doing some Instacart. I had a really good time yesterday, and I didn't make as much as I would like to make in something that I call employment. You know, if I'm gonna spend time working, then I would really like to make a reasonable, you know, a living wage, you know. Anyway, with all that said, I made $60 yesterday, and I worked about 6 hours, 5 hours. Yeah, I worked 6 to 11, so I worked 5 hours and I made $60. So I made about $11, $12 an hour if we add, you know, everything. And I think this morning I woke up to a $3 tip, so you add that on there, you know, I made $12 to $13 an hour. Still not a living wage. And then you have to think about mileage on the car, gas that goes into the car. I put $30 of gas in the car yesterday. Don't get me wrong, that's not the gas that I used. I did not use $30 of gas, so I can't say that I made 30 bucks yesterday, because that's not necessarily true. But I didn't, you know, I didn't make $15 an hour by any means. So with that said, I enjoyed myself. I got to jam to my music. You know, I could talk on the phone here and there. I enjoy walking around the stores, looking around. You know, like I said, I have a shopping spirit, but I live in post-consumerism. I am not the type to go shopping for myself anymore, not the same way that I would have if I, you know, lived in a different economic class and didn't see economics the same way that I do as a poor person. But again, with all that said, I am out again doing Instacart again, because, you know, it was money that I was enjoying myself while I was making. So I just wanted to come out again and see what it looked like. The reason why I'm not at my house doing this video and saying, hey, you know, I'm going to try it again, is because I turned my app on at the house, and you can turn your app on anywhere and get you know, and get calls similar to Uber. You could turn your app on at your house and then get your next call, or you could go into the center of the city and get busy real quick. So I came out to a grocery store. It shows you on the app busier areas. It says that you can wait 5 to 15 minutes if you drive up to some of these stores that are busier. And I had my app on for about a half an hour at my house, and I didn't have any calls. Now it is midday, people are at work, kids are at school, those kinds of things. So, you know, not a lot of people are looking for their groceries delivered mid-Tuesday. But I wanted to come out and just see what it looked like. If it says 5 to 15 minutes, why don't I just come out and see? Is it 5 to 15 minutes here at the grocery store for me to get a job? Or is that an estimate and I sit for a half an hour? We will see. I'll keep you updated. And then I'll try to finish up this video today so I can get it out to y'all. All right. So I've been sitting outside of our local grocery store that had a ring around it that was orange, and in the app that means that it's a high volume or high traffic, high need in that grocery store. So if you get in that bubble, you're like supposed to be you know, one of the drivers chosen first for that busy spot. However, what I found is that you're not guaranteed a ride within the time frame that they put on the app. And I have a feeling that what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, so I have a feeling that feature is really for the consumer. And I mean, we are in, you know, consumer culture. We are in late stage capitalism, so it's not really been about the worker for a long time. So, you know, guaranteeing me a ride and all those kinds of things, it sounded good, but really what it is it guarantees the consumer a quick shot and a quick delivery. That's what it does. And so it kind of helps the company guarantee themselves returning consumers, and not so much guaranteeing this person's car alarm. Not so much guaranteeing the driver a job, right? Okay. So I just want to take a moment to touch base, because I just did my 3rd day of Instacart and I'm very disappointed with my experience. I am a half an hour away from my house, and I have been driving for 3 hours now. Not driving the whole time. I shopped for an hour. It took me 45 minutes to get to the first customer's house and a half an hour to get to the 7th customer's house, which put me an hour away from my own house. So I'm really confused about how Instacart decides to Instacart decides to bottle these things together and put them in packages for the driver. Because what happened was I made $30 off of this grocery haul, and while I was at the grocery store, while I was shopping, one of the customers continually added items. So the shopping took a lot longer than it would have if it had been just the original order, which not a big deal. However, it does create a disparity between what you think you're earning per the amount of time you're spending and what you're actually earning per the amount of time you're spending. Because yes, your ordered price goes up a couple dollars because you added a frozen mac and cheese or this and that, and so I get another couple cents more, but it is not enough to make it so that it was worth the time that I spent today. Like I said, I have been out for 3 hours now, and I still have a half an hour to drive home, and I made $30. So that would be, you know, $10 an hour if I wasn't spending gas money and those kinds of things. So that is not a livable wage. It's not something that you can use even to deem it, you know, worthy of your time. And that's really disappointing, because it's just another layer of the disappointment that this capitalism sets. It's like, here, have a side job, but really you're paying to deliver somebody else's groceries. You know, I made $10 an hour to shop for and deliver somebody else's groceries. That's not even, I mean, what, in Pennsylvania, I guess the living wage or the minimum wage is technically $7.25. So it is legally meeting the minimum wage requirements, but it is very disappointing and not worth my time. So with that said, I wanted to throw this in here because I didn't want to give you guys a video that says, hey, go try this. It's definitely worth your time, because don't get me wrong, I had a good time the one day. And if I curate my orders when I have a free moment and I check and I see, oh, there's an order that's only going to be 15 minutes away from my house and it's going to be a $15 order, well, then I might be down to do that. But I'm not going to jump onto something because it says $30 and it looks like it might take an hour to get it there and back. No, because you need time to shop. You need time for the people to add stuff. And the one guy, he was supposed to come out and help me carry some of these glass water bottles that he got. They were very heavy, and I'll throw a clip in here. But he didn't come out. And then when he did come out, I had already had everything over there. And he asked me a question about why one of the boxes were ripped and it was wet. I don't know. I didn't do that. I got those cases exactly how they came from the grocery store. One of the workers actually helped me bring them to the car. I put them in there. I drove as quickly but as safely as I could to get them there, and I delivered them to the door the best that I could. But with that said, you know, he wasn't happy, which means that I just drove a half an hour to your house to deliver a grocery, and you're not going to tip me for the actual amount of effort that I put in. So again, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's another opportunity for a company to use an independent contractor to, you know, basically have them do the work for them. So there's that. I have a half an hour to get home. I'm very disappointed in this. I miss my partner, I miss my dog, and I just want to go home. So yeah, that's the end of that, day 3. Okay. Sorry if you hear my fan, but I need the hot air sucked out of here, and I need it out of here quick. It's hot. Okay, it's been a few days since I did Instacart. As you've seen in the previous clips, I was very disappointed with my last experience. Spending 3 hours for $30, it really disappointed me again. So, you know, I wanted to just come back with a little bit of an outro, you know, a little bit of a let's sum this all up. I did make, you know, $120 in 3 or 4 days, but when I did the math, you know, I spent about 9 to 10 hours. I think it was 9 hours in total. So when we do the math, you know, I really didn't make more than $12 to $13 an hour. And you know, I can't be super disappointed in a job that would give $12 to $13 an hour, and I enjoyed myself. However, I can be disappointed in the fact that I put in my own expenses in that. So I wasn't making just $12 to $13 an hour. And as in previous clips you've seen, you know, I'm driving a car, I'm putting gas in that car. These are expenses on my shoulders, not the business's. And in that way, you know, when I'm calculating how much I'm bringing in the daytime, I'm really not able to assess what actually needs to go out then. And then you have to pay taxes at the end of the year. So again, that's another chunk of your income that will then be put out elsewhere. So it does not quite count as earnings in a sense. So with Instacart, I just don't see myself doing that outside of emergency situations where I might need another $10 to $20 to pay a bill or something. Because like I said in previous clips, we are in late stage capitalism. I'm not somebody who has a bunch of funds for emergency situations. I am somebody who has to jump to work when we need extra cash to come in that is unplanned. And a lot of people are dealing with that in America, and it's only, looking to get worse with this administration. So I figured I'd come in here, show you guys what I experienced so that folks didn't go into Instacart and find themselves surprised. And in the beginning of the video you've seen, I had a good time. It's not something that I was miserable doing until I spent an hour and a half driving, and in that time able to really assess what am I making during this hour and a half. So it's not something that
I'm gonna sit here and tell my audience, don't do it, don't you dare do it, but I want you to know what you're doing when you're doing it. You're coming out of pocket for a lot more than you might think, and in that way you're making a lot less than you might think. So let's just be, let's just keep it where it's at with that. And I just, wanted to bring myself back onto YouTube in a way that was helpful for my fellow society members, because like I said, we are in, this stage of capitalism where we all need to know what to do next. We all need to figure out where our next check is going to come from. And I say we all, but it's just the folks that I'm in contact with. Let me speak for the folks that I know, the community that I'm a part of. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm glad that you came to check this video out. If you made it to this point, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching this video. If you could do me another solid and just push that little thumbs up button, keep it coming for me so that I know that people are watching my videos and that I have, a space where people hear me at, because in these times in America, things do feel a little bit lonely, a little bit isolating, a little bit, a little bit off. So I'm going to put some videos out there in hopes that other folks who are feeling similarly to me find community in me and in my channel members. So hit subscribe if this was a video that you found some information that you can use in, or, just some of yourself in me. Alright, y'all. I love y'all. Thanks for watching. Peace.